Hello one and all, and welcome back to a slightly different RWBY discussion. I'm your only mate, and with me as always is...
This is the MaxN'Mate Trades, who's very tired, but ready to talk about some relationships in fictional media. Woo!
Yeah, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, and even just by the thumbnail or the background image, which I'm still quite proud of photoshopping that. I think it's funny. So we've talked briefly about shipping in RWBY, but we've never really just full on. We've talked about it in private chats, but never a recorded discussion or anything. So I thought this could make a fun little topic to talk about, just ones that we like, maybe ones we don't like, and just various things in between.
Yeah, and the general nature of what it means to create relationships in fictional media and the purposes they serve. At least that's something I plan on doing.
Yeah, I was actually, I've been greatly anticipating you talking about that.
I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
And it actually involves saying a lot of complimentary things towards Bumblebee, so you might appreciate that.
Yay. I'm always down for that.
I know.
And I kind of want to preference this. This does mean for some we are going to be talking about either what we basically what we think the sexualities of certain characters might be. And I should preference for this, we're probably going to be citing supporting media like the mangas, comics, and just various other things.
Yeah, basically we're going off of the most, I guess, for lack of a better term, concrete evidence to point us in the direction that we think is closest to what is actual fact.
And we could totally be wrong. But it's just the best guess given the evidence that we have.
Yeah, if they want to swerve us, I mean, I guess they're totally allowed to do that. This is just, we're just going off of what we have. Yeah,
and it's at that point I kind of want to bring up a little something that Monty said in an AfterBuzz interview. When asked if we would see LGBT characters in RWBY, he said, yeah, absolutely, and the best part about it is, maybe they're there right now, because these characters, they're kids, and we're putting them, on a path to, discover themselves, and even, figure them out, as we write it, and we're also trying to, look for what's best to these characters, outside of their gender, but it's not something we want to just, throw out there for the sake of it, it has to be earned.
Yeah, we have a big discussion about the nature of that right now, because you just said, something along the lines of, as we're writing, that sort of thing. Well, because we've talked about this, we have our personal theory on how that exactly worked out. Should we start with that before we get into specific ships?
Yeah, sure, why not? If you think that's a good segue.
Alright, cool. So basically, it's our thought process that, with the possible exception of one of the ships, I believe that during the course of mostly Volume 1, but it did go into Volume 2 and 3 a little bit. Basically, Monty and the other writers, they basically planted little seeds of just about every possible ship they could throw out there, with some notable exceptions. And basically, they created little moments that could sort of imply that two characters could be interested in each other, and that depending on how the writing staff liked it, and how the fans approached it too, and if everything lined up properly, they could build from there. And some of those worked out really well, whereas other ones clearly didn't. And we're of the personal opinion that those ships have long since passed their expiration date, and that it's just simply not going to happen at this point.
Yeah.
For example, go ahead.
There's also some evidence of that in other forms of media. I found this out through the reunion special Monica and Chandler in Friends, that was never originally planned.
No, it was not.
And the only reason it ever, like, went as far as it did was because, like, fans responded well to it, and as the writers were developing that relationship, like, it basically evolved from there.
Yeah, in fact, specifically, I remember they did, like, an alternate universe episode, like, the world where the friends didn't become friends until later. And in that, Chandler and Monica ended up getting together, and the writers were like, wait, whoa, hang on a second, there's something here. Should our actual versions be doing this?
No, they were already together at that point.
They were?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
In fact, one of Monica's points for, like, what if she was still fat was that Chandler would not be dating her, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're right. My bad. But you're right. You're still right about the grander scheme. Also, 90s sitcoms are... They don't age great. Anyway, so with taking this back to RWBY, with the exception of, like, I want to say Ladybug and Freezer Burn, just about every ship you can think of had at least one tiny little moment of, you know? And the writers are like, do we like writing this? Do the fans want us to write this? And they kind of, they pick and chose from there. Like, I believe, I don't remember the name of the ship, but I believe even Jean and Pyrrha were this to at least a small extent.
Wait, you don't remember that one?
I don't remember the name of that ship.
That's Arcos.
Thank you. I kept thinking Lancaster, and that's not it. Anyway...
I miss Arcos.
I know. Everyone does. But it... Oh, you know what? Dang, that's actually a really good transition, but I don't know if you still want to talk about this. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, I mean... Arcos, I think, was definitely one of those where it was just like, it was set up from the very beginning.
It was, yes. But I could also see it how they're like, well, if literally nobody is enjoying this, we could conceivably swerve in a different direction.
Possibly, but...
Possibly. Like, I don't know. I'm guessing on that one. But what okay, fine. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off here, okay? I'm talking about stuff like... White Rose and White Knight, stuff like that. Mostly stuff to do with Weiss, I'm not gonna lie, but there are others. Black Sun, that's a big example. As I know a lot of people aren't gonna be happy that I'm saying that, but it's just the facts. I believe the writers at start decided, okay, well, maybe these pairings will be something we enjoy and the fans want to see. So they sort of played around with them for a while. And I feel like they ultimately decided, no, I don't think that these are going to work out, so they dropped them. Do you think that's at least mildly safe to say?
Mildly, and especially with Black Sun in particular. And this isn't just me being all like, yeah, but we'll be for life, all that stuff. No.
Yeah,
but
it's weird of all people to talk about this. Oh yeah, no, he's impartial. But go ahead.
No, I remember going back through Volume 4 and thinking, honestly, it kind of highlights that these two just wouldn't work romantically. And I forgot about this until I was rewatching a video essay on how Bumblebee isn't forced, because some people will have you believe that. And the moment that really should tell people, like, yes, this is like the path they're going down, is actually the moment Adam cuts Yang's arm off.
Is that so?
Because in that moment, they directly tie Blake and Yang's narratives together.
That's true.
Yeah, like, their narratives, like, character arcs, like, it's around Adam and he ties them both together.
Alright, so now, I'm sorry, but that's too perfect of a transition to something I want to talk about.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so here's the thing. As I'm not really a writer, I'm an aspiring one. I want to make my own series in the future, so I do a lot of research into this sort of thing, and I watch a lot of media. So something that I've thought about a lot is basically the nature of romantic and even platonic relationships in stories such as this. And basically, I'm of the mind, and this isn't a universal thing, but I am of the mind, and I feel like a lot of, professional writers are also of this thought process, that all relationships between characters should serve a purpose to the narrative, whether that be the overall one or a character's personal narrative. So, just to use Bumblebee as an example, what does that particular pairing accomplish for the story? Well, as it turns out, quite a fair bit, a lot, honestly. Because at the end of the day, Blake's character journey is one of opening up more, of accepting others after an emotionally abusive past, not being afraid of people anymore. I believe that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm. And whereas coming out of her shadow.
Yeah, exactly. And with Yang, it's a lot like basically not becoming so foolhardy, hot-headed, thinking more, not being so rash, and stuff of that nature. It's a bit more of a subdued background element to the show, but that is what Yang is going through. That's always been a thing. There's constant discussions about how she's just too hot-headed all the dang time and making rash judgments.
Yeah.
And Bumblebee as a concept works really well. Not only are they contrasting personality types right out the get-go, so they kind of balance each other out that way, they obviously are able to help facilitate this character growth together. Yang helps Blake become more sociable, like going into that one dance, that sort of thing.
Yeah, which we unfortunately didn't get to see in Volume 7 because, well, that scene had to be cut.
Yeah, fair. It's a shame, but I get it. It's tonal whiplash and all that.
Yeah, no, of all scenes, that had to be cut, I can understand it being that one.
Yeah. And Blake is able to temper Yang and keep her level-headed more often. It's a good combination. They're able to help each other's personal narratives. That, I feel, is one of the golden standards for romantic relationships in anything, really. I feel like characters need to be able to complement each other and help them grow as characters, not just... that looks cute. Sure, toss them together. I've never enjoyed relationships that are based off of that alone.
Yeah, although, to be fair, us as fans, we do see two characters interact and we're just like, oh, that's cute. Can we see more of that? And it just, goes from there, or there's, hypothetical ideas. And, all this stuff that you're bringing up about, Bumblebee, I find it quite interesting that you've worded it, like that. Because I remember after Volume 1, all the voice actors of Team RWBY did a podcast, and Aaron brought up this exact same point about Bumblebee.
Oh, well, there you go.
That early on in the series.
Right, yeah. So, in that sense, I feel like that works a lot. Whereas, okay, also, two characters' chemistries need to be compatible enough in order to facilitate this mutual character growth. And this is gonna make me go into Black Sun a little bit. You could say a similar dynamic is present there with extroverts and introverts, when you boil it way, 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 way down to that ideal. But I feel as if, it's kind of hard to put into words, but I feel as if while Sun did help Blake out a fair bit, when she ran off.
Yeah.
I just don't know if, long-term speaking wise, he was able to affect Blake fundamentally in her core the way Yang has over time. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally makes sense, and And calling back to that video essay, it also brings up how, like, throughout Volume 4, a lot of Blake's thoughts are on Yang.
Well, yeah, because...
Yeah, it's because she ran off after her arm got cut off, but...
Yeah, she feels as if, I mean, she's directly responsible for that, and that basically her actions have affected Yang the most out of anybody, so it makes sense why her thoughts would linger on her specifically. Although, obviously, there is the subtle, the ever so subtle idea that, you know, there for multiple reasons why she's doing this. So, like, even when Sun is, you know, helping Blake out in a way, it's more so in a way that helps her sort of come to terms with what she did and how to continue.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think a good parallel to this is Sun was able to help convince Blake to go back and mend a previous relationship, whether intentional or not. For Sun, I don't know if it was entirely intentional, but for Weiss, it very much was when she gave Yang that one really emotional talk.
Weiss, best wing woman.
She very much is. So when Weiss had that long conversation with Yang about, I mean, it wasn't specifically like, girl, get with that cat girl. That's not what she was doing. But
no, could you imagine if it was?
It was like, come on now. But no, Weiss basically helped. Here we go. This goes platonically. Weiss helped facilitate Yang's character growth in a way that allowed her to re-rail her relationship with Blake. Allow her to open back up, at least be open to the idea of forgiving Blake for what she did. And I maintain, without Weiss, it is conceivable that Yang might have let the resentment inside her fester to the point where the next time she saw Blake, she outright would not have let her back in.
Totally possible.
It's a dark timeline for you, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
But you can't argue that it's not totally feasible.
Yeah, and I want to point out there's even some parallels from Weiss's conversation to Sun's. Like, the way she words, and I forget the exact line.
It's okay.
But, and I promise, Blake would, like... Well, okay, it's similar to, Sun's line about how, he'd get hurt all over again if it meant protecting Blake, and he can promise Yang would say the same.
Exactly. Weiss basically said roughly the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I feel like that's a good example. Like I said, all relationships should facilitate the plot, whether it be the overall or the personal. And in that aspect, I almost want to say Blake's time with Sun in that particular volume was a combination of a transition to that concept of a more platonic-based role in each other's lives, while also simultaneously kind of being the last hurrah of Black Sun and any potential it may have had. Because you still got, like, them hanging out a lot, and I'm sure that made that subsect happy, but it's just like, this is pretty much the last you're getting.
Yeah, although it does still get referenced, like, a little bit in, Before the Dawn.
Yeah. Look, I mean, Sun's gonna have a harder time getting past it than Blake is, I'll just say that much. I feel like he's a well-written enough character to do so.
Yeah.
But...
And of course, like, okay, assuming Blake and Yang do get together in the next volume, they get back to Remnant, go to Vacuo. When Sun finds out, I'm sure he's just gonna be happy that Blake is happy. Yeah, maybe he'll be a little hurt because, you know, he liked her too. But I don't think Sun is the kind of guy to be, like, petty, jealous, or even try to break them up or anything. You
know, the type of thing you see in fanfiction all the time. Not that I read fanfiction, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, that sort of thing. But, so... And just... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I do have, like, another thought, and this, like, goes back to the whole, like, planting seeds thing. I would argue that Bumblebee is one of, like, the ones that was planned from the beginning?
At the very least, it was something in the conceptual stages that they really wanted to become a thing long term. But I almost feel... This is going to sound really, really rude to Sun and his fans. But...
Oh boy.
Okay.
Should I go into my thing before you do this?
Yeah, you probably should. Go ahead.
Okay. So, apparently Barbara said at a convention a while back that that was the case. Bumblebee was the original plan. I haven't found footage of this since, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, could be an exaggeration or something.
Yeah, but she
sounds like something Barb would say.
But she did want to say on RWBY Rewind, like when asked if Bumblebee was only happening because of like fan outcry, she said like things have been planned from the beginning, so keep watching. Like there was a little more to it, but
yeah, I imagine it helped.
Oh yeah, like definitely.
It was like probably more than most likely the #1 ship in the fan base, at least at some point.
Between that, Arcos and Renora.
Yeah. So that sort of thing. But continue if you need to.
Yeah, but as for plan from the beginning, you could argue that it's even foreshadowed like as far back as the Red trailer.
You could, yes. Yeah,
because I've brought this up before. The lyrics in the song Red Like Roses, they describe Team RWBY, and on my end, I will play them in the video over my voice.
Yes.
Red like roses fills my dreams and brings me to the place you rest.
RWBY's in that trailer visiting her mother's grave.
It's true.
White is cold and always yearning, burdened by a royal test.
That's Weiss. I know her.
Yep. Now, Blake's description.
Black the beast descends from shadows.
Considerably shorter than RWBY and Weiss's, right?
Unless...
The very next line is Yang's description.
Yellow beauty burns gold.
Yeah, so...
Again,
beast.
considerably shorter, but the way those lyrics are sung, it's like they're meant to be together. And the very first description of them in the series is Beauty and the Beast. There's even a lot of like Beauty and the Beast parallels, like or references for them like throughout the show. Now these could be just like little like nods, but
yeah.
I feel like they might be intentional at this point.
It's possible.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier how Adam is the one who ties their narratives together.
Yes.
Well, as we've discussed on our discussions a few times, it's been confirmed that in the fable of Beauty and the Beast, he's not the Beast, as people originally thought.
He's what, Gaston? Or his equivalent?
He's Gaston and the Cursed Rose.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and like, Blake is meant to be both Beauty and Beast.
Yeah.
Though Yang also has like aspects of her where you could say she's Beauty and Beast as well, but primarily design-wise, she's Goldilocks.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of a hazy metaphor, but it's obviously there.
Yeah.
So is that the complete thought?
That's just me saying like I would argue it is one of the ones that's been planned from the beginning.
It is, and can I get into my thing? Okay, so because this ties into that, I also believe that at the bare minimum, from day one, in conceptual stages, that Blake and Yang were a relationship that at least Monty very much believed in and wanted to be a thing. and that, you know, that extends to the rest of the writing staff. And obviously, it paid off. A lot of people were into it. But this is me using my sort of experience as a writer. I mean, it attempted to be a writer anyway. I'm trying not to sound pretentious about it. But basically, I feel like Sun may have potentially been created as a mild failsafe in case the reception to Blake and Yang's relationship didn't work.
That might sound like a bit of a hot take, but I kind of want to add to that by saying it's just like the way he shows up at the very end of the first volume.
Not only that, while it's not one-to-one by any stretch of the imagination, when you get down to it, Sun and Yang both filled very similar roles to Blake's development. And I mean, they're even both quote-unquote hot blondes. Like, I feel like they were like somebody somewhere was all like, I mean, I get that we want this and we're gonna go for it and we're gonna hope that it works out, but what if fans just outright detest this combination for whatever the hell reason? How are we supposed to continue Blake's path, you know, her character development path line if nobody wants to see these two together? And it's like, well, what if we have this backup character? I can't say, I had no proof of this. This is just from my experience of trying to write my own stories.
The only other, like, this is kind of a mild thing, but it's in Volume 2. That I want to feel kind of back to, and this ties into Neptune as well.
Yes. Oh, I have some other things to say about the rest of Team Sun, but go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, and that being, you remember that first outing that the girls have?
I do, yes.
Where,
oh yeah, you brought this up, please, yeah.
Yeah, Sun kind of invites himself and Neptune along.
Yes, and it kind of felt weird at the time, even.
Yeah, Sun and Neptune play no role in the outcome of anything during that.
Absolutely.
If they weren't present, everything would turn out exactly the same.
And I feel
he doesn't even Neptune in particular doesn't add anything to Yang at Junior's club. Junior even calls out, "Why is he here?"
Maybe that was an intentional added line. It's hard to say.
Maybe.
But so okay, this kind of goes into I detest this. Iceberg. Okay. I feel as if Neptune ultimately ended up becoming such a massively throwaway character that it would have been a waste to pair Weiss up with him, because, and you can back me up on this because you said as much. Basically, very, very quickly over time, Neptune's relevancy to literally any aspect of the story fizzled out incredibly fast.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes I do feel that way about just Team Sun as a whole, because, with just how little we see them.
Like, because I mentioned this. Like, did Sun need a team? Like, narratively?
Yeah.
Couldn't he have just been a runaway Faunus guy, you know, living free off the land?
Honestly, I feel like that could have worked.
It could have. Like, with some mild tweaks. You didn't... I mean, Neptune exists as nothing more than just Sun's friend who he pals around with occasionally now. So, like, and that, you know, the less said about Scarlet and Sage, the better, as they are barely even characters.
Though that being said, Scarlet has a potential pairing that I'd honestly be okay with.
I understand that, but again, it took a supplementary novel to make these characters actually characters.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, obviously the show didn't have any plans for them.
At least for the time being.
Yeah, at least. But basically that's kind of my entire thing. I feel almost as if, at the very least, I don't know. I feel like Neptune almost just kind of existed as a potential wrench into things, and when that obviously fell through, everyone was like after that whole, the beacon dance thing, and I was all like, I'm really not feeling this iceberg thing. So they very quickly threw in that thing where he flirts with that other lady team, and Weiss is all like, all right, guess what? To hell with all that, we're done.
Yeah, and as even before that, like, I mentioned the outing, he immediately gets the hots for Yang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, immediately. So, like, even at the time, I feel like anybody could immediately tell you, is like, I don't think that's gonna be a thing. And thank God it wasn't, because Weiss deserves better. But that's not my point. Not my point. Anyway. I still see some people think that particular line has some potential, whereas I'm just going to have to disagree.
Yeah, I mean, if they make Neptune a gargantuanly better character...
With how much left of the show there is, I wonder how feasible that is.
Then, maybe.
Maybe. But he's gonna have to impress the hell out of me, I'll tell you that much. But, okay, so... I guess, unless you have your own thing that you want to say now, I can sort of transition into something else.
No, let's transition to something else.
Okay, well, very quickly, I just want to say, I don't dislike Sun in any capacity, at all. I feel like I've actually gone to bat for the guy more often than I necessarily need to. I'm just saying things the way they appear from my perspective.
Yeah, I'll admit, I've had my ups and downs with Sun in the past. Like, Volume 4 in particular, I didn't think do a whole lot of favors for him until the end.
Definitely. Yeah.
But, fun fact.
Yes.
Back in Volume 1, I actually used to ship Black Sun.
Yeah, that's true, you did.
Because I was when he met and just showed up at the end of Volume 1, like, the way him and Blake looked at each other, I was under the assumption that they knew each other. And I thought, oh, maybe they're childhood friends. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, no, and if they were, then maybe there would have been a bit more support for the concept. But, not so lucky.
Yeah, then it turned out, no, that was just the first time they met, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Well, now that scene looks weird.
Yeah, it kind of does. And, admittedly, it might just be me looking a bit too much into this. But Blake has a line in Volume 2 where she tells Ozpin she wants to be seen for who she is, not what she is.
And that's kind of what Sun did.
Yeah, Sun...
Not maliciously, mind you.
Yeah, no, not maliciously, but Sun does highlight the fact they're both Faunus a lot, and...
As a pro to the possibility of a relationship.
Yeah, and he also does the same thing with Velvet in Before the Dawn.
So...
And in one of the anthology mangas, Yang has this line in one of the pages where she tells Blake when she looks at her with or without the bow, she doesn't see a Faunus or a human, she just sees Blake. Now,
to be 100% fair, it is very, very possible that the person that wrote that anthology manga story saw that line and wanted to incorporate it into the story. And the anthology mangas are, in fact, basically just fan fiction Rooster Teeth allowed themselves to sell. So...
Yeah, but there are, some aspects of them that I guess they would have had to be approved, and...
I'm sure if they were, overtly, and then they start making out, and then Rooster Teeth would have been like, no.
We can't have this, at least not yet.
But anyway, the point is, you can hint at stuff real strongly, but you can't confirm anything. I feel like that was probably as strict of a mandate as they gave people. I mean, when you get right down to it, I mean, there are moments in the Weiss anthology that very strongly hint at the possibility of monochrome of all things. So, I mean,
one.
Yes, but it was still pretty overt.
I mean, yeah.
You can't say it wasn't. And I'm saying this as somebody who isn't a fan of it, so come on.
Okay, that's another one. I feel like, okay, that could have had some potential, but
No, there was. there was, and there were some small crumbs, very small crumbs.
Yeah, and going back to our like planted
in
seeds
the show proper
point,
yes.
like I guess it just didn't resonate as much with the writers and fans.
Yes, because I mean, theoretically speaking, when you go back to the narrative push, it would be a different dynamic of narrative being pursued for both characters, but it would have pushed both of their developments along, Weiss and Blake. It would have. The fans and the writers were just not nearly good enough of a narrative to want to pursue over something like Bumblebee. Like, that was definitely we have so many better options, so let's just not. Although, this does help me transition to Weiss in general, which is just something that I say a lot.
It's true.
It's true. Okay, so here's the thing with Weiss. I have a personal theory that the opening volumes of RWBY focused on the ideas of Weiss's relationships so adamantly and so frequently, and none of them really worked out in any way that the writers were happy with, that they ultimately decided that they didn't need to go that route with Weiss at all.
Which I could see, but I will bring up a little something later on.
I'd rather you do it now so I can possibly address it.
Okay, it's the possibility of White Knight still happening one day.
True.
Like,
but
of the options
okay,
Weiss still has, I do feel like that is the best option.
I understand that, and if something has to happen, then that is the one that I would prefer. But I would like to also state that, as we've said privately, they're going to have to really start hammering in the idea of it being possible and building off of it, like, right now.
Yeah, otherwise it'll feel like a pair the spares sort of thing.
Yeah, because I want to say, I can't say I know, but I want to say RWBY has maybe 3 or 4 volumes left-ish. So, I mean, I don't want it to just come out of dang nowhere. So, but anyway, to sort of rewind just a bit to what my point was. There were shipping moments for Weiss with a lot of characters in those opening volumes. They threw out the idea of a lot of possible options for her. And ultimately, even if you're watching the show itself, you could pretty easily tell, I don't know if that's really going to work out. Or, you know, something to that general effect. And I guess primarily I'm talking about the 3, I guess you call them the biggest ones. I don't know. I don't follow the shipping scene too strongly, but yeah, White Rose, White Knight, and Iceberg, basically.
Yeah, no, those are the big 3 for Weiss.
Right. So I guess I have to just get into this. White Rose was a thing that could have happened. It very much could have, but I don't know when exactly the writers decided this works better platonically, but I really do feel like they write them as if that's the goal these days.
Yeah, I can see that, and I remember it was last year, I think, the Ship It Show podcast. They had Lindsay and Barbara on.
Yes, they did. Go ahead.
And
this is a fun story.
Oh boy, I felt so bad for White Rose fans at this point.
I mean, I had some schadenfreude.
Because Lindsay said, like, they don't really get White Rose. And at that point, I was like, oof. Oh, I'm gonna put one out for you guys.
Yeah. So, okay, it's important to note that voice actors are voice actors, and they do their job, and they don't necessarily actually sway how the writing goes in any capacity.
Yeah, otherwise, a lot of ships would have happened.
I find it incredibly interesting that, you know, Aaron and Barb have been Bumblebee fans since day one, basically.
Oh no, like, Aaron especially, she said that when she first saw Blake and Yang's designs, like, she was into the idea.
Right. It's an interesting parallel when you realize that neither Lindsay or Kara seem to think or care about that ship at all.
Yeah, now, like, Kara's, like, since Volume 1, always been a White Knight supporter.
And that's, again, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna happen, it's just interesting.
Is that a good segue to bring up a little something that came out recently?
Sure?
Okay, so, Kara said at a con, like, again, allegedly, I haven't found footage of this, so...
grain of salt, grain of salt.
Yeah. But Kara said the writers told her that White Knight wasn't going to happen.
I mean, I don't know if they would just be dead blatant about it, or if Kara would be allowed to just say that.
Yeah, that's...
Though that's my hesitation when I hear that. Like, unless I actually saw her say it, I don't know, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing that they would just throw out there. Have they ever hard deconfirmed a ship like that in the past? Like, somebody said, hey, what about this ship? And they're like, no, we're literally never doing that. Stop thinking that. Like,
aside from any that involve...
Yeah, but I was kind of hoping we could go the whole video without saying that word. Oh well.
Sorry. I can easily just cut that.
Okay.
Or should I just bleep it and make it funnier?
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Your call. But, so, there you go. And, okay, again, because I'm me and I need to make this about Weiss, because of Weiss. Okay. So, remember what I'm talking about when it came to narrative purpose when it comes to relationships?
Yeah.
What is Weiss's entire story? What is the goal with her as a character? Well, let me tell you, because I like to think I know. Is that Weiss is a character who came from a turbulent childhood. She became a product of her upbringing, and the goal was to basically break her down to her fundamentals and then build her back up as a better person. And I feel that even without a romantic relationship in the cards for her, she has been doing that expertly just with her 3 teammates alone.
Yeah, I can see that.
I want to say, like, Weiss has, over time, despite no matter who decides to say otherwise, has over time slowly grown into becoming the heart of the team. She is a very firm glue that holds the whole thing together, because she was the one who was able to help repair Blake and Yang's relationship, and she... Way back when she became my favorite character and she said the immortal lines that she was going to be the best teammate ever, she damn well meant it. She exists to support the hell out of her friends, and she has been doing a fantastic job of it. She stopped Blake from jumping into the death dimension. She still fell in, but she didn't let her jump in.
Yeah, because of, that's a really, that was really a really dark moment.
It very much was.
Look at it.
It very much was the more you look at it, but you know, once you realize, that's not a death hole. But Blake sure didn't know that. Nobody knew that. But anyway, at this point, considering the development that Weiss has been able to do on her own up to this point, I don't know how much a relationship for her is actually completely necessary. I mean, she's already been able to grow as much as she has, and considering they already tried a few ideas for her when it came to that department, and they didn't really pan out, maybe they're just not gonna. I don't know.
Which, honestly, that's fair, and we've talked about this in private chats, but there are, like, 3 or 4 options I want to... Wait, no, hang on.
Yes,
okay, yeah.
His notes.
4 options left for Weiss at this point.
Just 4? Okay, sure. I'm listening.
Like, in terms of romantic relationship, sort of.
Okay,
thing.
sure. I'm listening. What up?
There's, as we mentioned before, make Neptune a gargantuanly better character for when they next meet.
Yeah. I'm putting that as the least likely of all options.
I don't blame you. There's start developing White Knight, like, now.
Like, right damn now.
Introduce a brand new character who has hella good chemistry with Weiss.
I'm gonna get into that just a little tiny bit, but go ahead.
Or,
The last one.
she stays single till the end of the series.
I feel like those are pretty much the only possibilities at this point. We'll get into RWBY. So, something I've noticed about the shipping arena, I guess, I don't know how to describe it, is that people really like shipping Weiss with any eligible character, whether she has exposure or interactions with them or not.
Oh no, I can talk about this.
Like,
because there were a couple examples, when I really looked at them, I was just like, I don't know about these.
Like, the 3 biggest examples of just, we want to ship Weiss with somebody, yeah, sure, I guess they'll do, in my mind, are Flint Cole.
I didn't
Marrow.
even think about him.
I know, right? But there were people.
Marrow, I also didn't think about, so I'm really curious.
I know.
What
That's how desperate people are to ship Weiss with people. And Ilya.
Okay, no, Ilya was one of the ones I thought of.
Yes, I know. At least Weiss talked to the other 2.
Yeah, and the other one I saw a lot of people pushing for was Sun.
I deeply dislike that.
The thing I noticed is, Ilya was after Volume 5. And Sun was after Volume 6. So, I'm sure people had, like, good headcanons, or maybe they had ideas for fanfiction that would have been cute. But I couldn't help but really view those as just... I hate the fact I'm about to word it this way.
Alright, go ahead.
Just giving Weiss Blake sloppy seconds.
That's definitely a way to phrase it.
Because, like, Ilya and Sun were both characters that could have been a thing for Blake.
This is big pair the spares mentality.
Yeah, but...
Hey, these characters don't have relationships, just throw them together, who cares? Nah, we ain't doing that. But, yeah, so... People really apparently want Weiss to be with somebody, and they will latch on to literally anybody they can, it seems. And none of those have panned out.
Or even met.
Or even met.
And
So, yeah.
speaking of Ilya, this brings up how I really don't think Iceberg is planned anymore. Because...
There's a lot of reasons to think that, but which one are you going with?
Alright, so Neptune comes back in Volume 6. And
For a
flirts
moment.
with Ilya.
Yeah. That's how they chose to spend his cameo.
Yeah, and not maybe catch up with Weiss, who's literally on the platform below.
If they wanted to do anything with that, then they would have at least went, oh, hey, and then Weiss would have gone, eh. You know, that sort of thing or something.
It's true.
Even that dismissal would have been more support for it than no interaction whatsoever. So I just do not see that going. I feel like Neptune as a character exists for one of 2 things. One, to unsuccessfully hit on women, and be Sun's friend.
Yeah, and I probably should have brought this up earlier when we talked about the whole, like, idea of Sun being a backup idea.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of the situation with Velvet. Because Velvet was just meant to be a one-off character.
Yeah, she was just supposed to be a bunny girl they created, but then everyone's like, oh damn, that girl cute, make her a thing, and so they kind of did.
Yeah, like they had a competition for a combat gear, and then they created a team for her.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that worked out a lot.
Yeah, that worked out way better than it had any right to.
And
although it does create the hilarious, weird thing of Cardin bullying somebody who's not only his senior in school, but also vastly more powerful than him. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, and on a team with Yatsuhashi, have you seen the size of that guy?
Like, looking back on that scene, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for that interaction to have taken place.
You know
but
what?
I digress. They didn't know what they were doing at the time.
Now I really want to see a scene of Cardin just, like, trying to pick on Velvet. He just feels like something tap. He turns around, there's Yatsu just towering over him with, like, demon eyes.
This 10-foot-tall behemoth. It's like, oh, you messed with the bunny, now you die. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Anyway, I think that's actually in an anthology manga where it's just Team Coffee beat the crap out of Team Cardinal.
I mean, at that point, it's a missed opportunity that somebody had to rectify.
Yeah, so I'm at least glad it exists there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't help but feel like Sun might have been a similar, especially with this like conversation we've been like having, this idea we've been spinning around. And it's kind of backed up by the fact that Scarlet and Sage just aren't characters in the show.
They very much are not.
But I kind of feel like they and Neptune solely exist as just like, well, Sun's a character and we want to have him in, so he's got to have a team. Let's give him one.
Mm-hmm. That pretty much is about all there is to it.
I feel like it. Oh, and real quick while on Sun, I meant to bring this up for Bumblebee, but I kind of want to shoot down a take I saw back in the Volume 6 days.
Go right ahead.
And it being a claim that if Bumblebee happens, it would ruin the dynamic of Team RWBY.
Ah.
Because Blake and Yang get hitched, they would care more about each other than Ruby and Weiss and the rest of their friends. So everything would be like, everything would be ruined.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously going to go more into it, but I'm just throwing this out there. Wouldn't that be the case for literally any relationship for the four main girls?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how is that supposed to disprove Bumblebee?
Or even
Call it
try
a bad
and,
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, try to make it sound like a bad idea. By that logic, any relationship for them would be a bad idea.
Yeah. Also, by that logic, we can't have Ren and Nora.
Mm-hmm.
So I could very easily just use that point for Black Sun.
Yeah, you very much could.
And by saying, like, oh, Blake would then care more about this guy than the rest of her team.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just not a good take in general.
Yeah, and also, as for ruining the team dynamic, of every, like, relationship between Team RWBY, what would you say is the weakest dynamic? And always has been.
Ladybug, by far.
Yeah, Blake and
I
Ruby.
mean, I say Ladybug, but Ruby and Blake, I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, honestly, I think, and I'm also lifting this from that video essay I keep mentioning by Xiaolin Media. I would highly recommend checking that out. Bumblebee happening opens up possibilities for Blake and Ruby's relationship to improve. Like, you could have Ruby treating Blake as, like, another sister. You could have Blake going to Ruby for advice. Or you could even have them laughing and bonding over perhaps an embarrassing story from Yang's childhood.
It gives them more opportunities to have a relationship in general.
Yeah.
So, what do you know? A relationship that a ship that could conceivably happen that could strengthen a platonic relationship between two other characters.
Exactly.
What a concept! What a concept!
Oh, and as for the whole, like, care more about each other than the rest of, like, their friends. Okay, when you enter a relationship, you don't suddenly forget all your friends and family.
Granted, you do tend to prioritize them a bit more, and maybe you're not as close later in life, but that doesn't mean you completely disregard them entirely, especially if you're going to maintain a work relationship like I imagine RWBY probably are for the majority of their lives.
Oh, yeah.
Like, unlike a lot of other Hunter teams, I like to think they're probably going to stick together. I mean, then again, I guess it kind of goes into the idea, if they defeat Salem, are Grimm going to be eliminated entirely, and are Hunters going to be entirely pointless? I don't know, but
that's something I've questioned.
That's a discussion for another day, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
They get rid of Salem, so no new Grimm can be made, but there will still be remnants. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered Bumblebee a lot. We just talked about Lice and the options with her.
So I guess that means we gotta go to the main girl herself?
Well, the main girl.
The main girl?
Yep, and I mean RWBY.
Yep, alright, so shipping RWBY. Honestly? Hilariously enough, I want to say, over the course of the entire history of the show, really only ever had, like, maybe 4 possible options. And only one of them feels even remotely feasible right now.
I mean, especially... You know what, I'm gonna stop myself right there, because I even make myself feel bad.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna have to just get through it, alright? Here's the thing. We already talked about Right Rose and how we don't think that's just gonna be a thing anymore. We think they're just legitimately, actually, like, you know, BFFs now. I feel like that really is the entire thing they want to do with those two.
Yeah, I still really want to hear why School RWBY that one day.
It's gonna be like a long-term payoff thing. It'll happen. It wasn't ever incredibly strong, but they had the, you know, basically main female and main male character dynamic that a lot of things have with Lancaster, with RWBY and John. That wasn't ever. I think they like maybe, but I feel like that fizzled out real fast once they realized John had stronger dynamics with Pyrrha and even to a lesser degree Weiss. Like that got dropped hecka fast. There was an argument for Penny. Less said about that, the better. Yeah.
Like, honestly, I would have been down for that.
I would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
But, I feel like it's pretty safe to assume that that's not gonna happen now.
Unfortunately.
And I feel like there is a strong amount of evidence to support the notion that Rose Garden is in-game for RWBY, if anything.
Yeah, I can see it, and honestly, I think it's a cute pairing.
I do too. I think it is very cute. I feel like they have... I feel like they've established the possibility of it early enough and have sprinkled in enough mildly cute moments to build something off of if they want to push that button just a little bit harder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now, I'm curious, you brought up like, the whole point of like romantic pairings and stuff for Blake and Yang. Have you thought about that for RWBY and Oscar?
I have.
Okay, I'm really interested in this.
Alright, so it's not as clear-cut at this exact moment, but I feel like it's a different kind of dynamic when it comes to that. At least when it comes to Oscar and his feelings towards RWBY, which is, I feel like, something we have a bit more of a dynamic for right now.
I mean, especially considering at one point she touched his shoulder and he blushed.
Yeah, so I mean, that says a lot. I mean, at the very, very bare minimum, dude's got a crush on her. That's undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I mean, considering about, I want to say 2 moments, like, especially that awkward hug moment that Marrow made fun of. I feel like, at the very least, RWBY is considering that possibility as well. Like, I've consulted with several people to make sure I'm not stupid. That is indeed meant to be a shipping thing.
I mean, especially considering Marrow goes, ugh, kids.
Yeah.
And he said that exact same thing about Blake and Yang.
Exactly. So
And I'm going to be calling back to a few romantic parallels
yeah,
in this discussion.
So, I admit that it's not ironclad, and I'm still working on this idea, but Oscar clearly admires RWBY. You know, he had an entire miniature dialogue with Ozpin about how cool he thinks she is, essentially. When around the time they first met, and RWBY was able to give him a legitimate pep talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the closest thing I can come up with right now, it's not perfect, is both of them are characters put into situations that they very much did not ever plan for in their lives. There are a lot of expectations being put on both of them to do very specific things. And even though they are not emotionally prepared for them, they're still trying to do their best for everyone around them despite that.
Huh.
And narratively speaking, I feel like two characters who don't get a lot of choice in how their life goes, making the decision to perhaps maybe pursue something with each other could be actually kind of a neat idea. Because then they would actually get to make a choice.
Huh.
Like I said, it's not a perfect ideology.
But I see where you're going with it.
Yeah. So that's why I always felt like that this wasn't just something that came from literally nowhere. And we have a couple reasons to think that, at the very least, Rooster Teeth are trying to mildly condition us to this possibility.
Yeah, and I know one example you're going to bring up is...
you brought up several convention things. I want to bring up a convention thing.
Go ahead.
Okay? Alright, because this is one we actually do have physical proof of happening. But there was... I forget the lead up to it, but one reason or another, once again, the RWBY cast are being made to talk about ships, because that's just how things be.
I mean, it gets brought up at, like, every single panel.
It very much does. But, basically, they talk about it, and for one reason or another, Miles gets to talking about Rose Garden conceptually, and how he thought it was incredibly weird, and he was deeply, like, animatedly confused by people saying, "Oh, Rose Garden, that can't happen. She's too old for him." He slapped his head and go, "What?" So, he did that for two reasons, I feel. One, a lot of people seem to consistently forget that RWBY is 2 years younger than the greater majority of her student castmates.
Yeah, literally everybody at Beacon, she was at bare minimum 2 years younger than everybody.
Like, straight up, if you ever supported White Rose in any capacity, Weiss is 2 years older than RWBY, so I don't know where you were going with that.
Yeah.
So, there's that. And I feel like, again, it doesn't mean anything for that, you know, for him to say that, because it could just be him being legitimately confused. It's like, I've seen so many ships all over the years, and you're trying to tell me that that one isn't going to be possible for that reason? That's ridiculous. I think that's easily all that could have meant.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, when you add that on to what is very clearly, you know, blushing nerd moments, that's what I'm going to call them, it's clear that at the very least, they're like, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? And, well, I think it's cute.
And, okay, another reason I want to say that does support at least maybe RWBY is getting a slight crush on the guy. And this comes from the Volume 9 sneak peek that we got a while back.
Oh, yeah! I talked to you about this, didn't I?
Yeah, how, Neo specifically turns into 3 characters. Yang,
Yeah.
Penny, and Oscar.
Now, it could, conceivably, have just been 3 random characters. However, wouldn't it make a lot of sense for Neo as a character to transform into characters that RWBY wouldn't want to harm? Like, she would have the most reservations about fighting.
Yeah, I can see that.
And her sister, and I guess her two strongest romantic options at that point. She doesn't know Penny's dead.
Oh boy, that's not going to be a
that's
fun
gonna be a
scene to
thing.
watch.
Indeed. But anyway, it's I don't know how the hell Neo would know any of this, but for the audience, you could read into it that way.
Oh yeah.
And not for nothing, it's not like I haven't seen support for Rose Garden in the fan community. I have.
Yeah, so have I.
So, it's not like nobody wants it and it's coming out of nowhere or anything of that sort. So, I mean, if they want to pull the trigger on that, cool.
Yeah, I'm down for it, and there is an aspect of it that I will admit did weird me out at first.
Yes, okay. Let's address that gargantuan mammoth.
That being the fact that Osborn is inside Oscar's brain.
Yes. Which makes him a eternally old-ass man, just kind of chilling in there and potentially being privy to a relationship of younger characters.
Yeah. Which, okay. Now, it's also because Osborn was RWBY's teacher.
That's part of it.
So that's really the sense of like why I found it weird at first.
Exactly.
And
however,
we brought this up in just our regular chats of just like when Oscar and Osborn merge, what if Oscar is the dominant person?
yeah. And let's be completely honest with ourselves, you can't say that that's not being foreshadowed.
Yeah, and this is also kind of backed up. Well, we found out the OG person was Ozma, not Ozpin.
Yes.
I'm just throwing
So-
that out there.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
So it's totally possible that whatever next life mostly just gains the memories. And maybe like a few characteristics.
Yeah, but I feel like the way they've established Oscar as a character and the whole conflict of his character being basically the death of identity, essentially, and that whole thing, and the way they've been building it up, and the way that Ozpin has been consistently trying to fade more into the background, only coming out when he has no choice, stuff like that. I feel like they are building up to the idea of Oscar being allowed to be the guy in charge of the body and mind, essentially. And if that happens, boom.
Yeah, and there's also a possibility of just like, well, what if he's still around when they beat Salem? The gods come back, Ozma is allowed to finally go into the afterlife, then boom, he's gone.
Yeah,
Like, where's the issue then?
exactly. Also, God, I can never not think of this piece of fan art, literally ever.
Oh yeah?
But it's just this picture of Ozpin sitting in Oscar's subconscious.
Oh, this.
And it's just plastered with art of RWBY. And he's just sitting there, like, hugging his knees, going, ugh. I just think it's the funniest goddamn thing.
That is pretty great.
I just love that art so much. Because it's just like, yeah, I guess that would be what happens if you're inside a teenager's brain. It's like I've seen multiple variations on this, like an alternate take of Oscar and RWBY first meeting, and inside Oscar's head, you just hear Osborn going, "Whoa, hang on, what's the whoa, whoa?" And it just, I don't know. That dynamic is funny to me.
Yeah, no, I get that. That is funny.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, it seems like that's pretty much the only avenue RWBY's got for her if they want to give her anything.
Yeah, and I remember one point Lindsay said they would totally be down for, like, the idea of asexual RWBY.
Yeah, I get you.
Which, like, yeah, I'm not against that either. Like, wherever these girls like turn out to be, like, we're not gonna view them any differently as characters or people.
Quite literally, the only thing I care about is them being happy by the end of the story.
Yeah, that's ultimately what we want. Well, for Blake and Weiss in particular, because best girls.
Absolutely. But I still care a great deal about Ruby and Yang too. I care about all the characters, but I'm trying to not be greedy because side characters going to be side characters, and those are always expendable to varying degrees. So really, all I want is for the main team, the 4 main girls of the series, to end this show alive and happy. That's all.
Yeah, and this might be asking too much, but I will say, if Blake and Yang get together, which hopefully, and we get to see their wedding.
He really wants to see that. He talks about it so much.
That has so much potential to make me cry on camera. Like, just throwing it out there. I kind of want to also talk about a big hope I really do have, like, for that relationship at least, because... And this ties into a comparable pairing from another show entirely.
Right.
That being Adora and Catra from She-Ra and the Princesses of Power on Netflix.
Never watched it, so you're on your own.
Okay. So, it's established very early on that Adora and Catra have, like, quite the connection. There's some angst, like, throughout the whole show, but in the final season, they do come back together, work together. They work together, like, a few times here and there. But it's in the final few episodes, and actually it's the very last episode, where Catra confesses, and, you know, Adora reciprocates.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going with this.
They have their first kiss, and then the show ends.
Yeah, what you desperately want.
It's not literally like they kiss, credits roll. No. Like, some stuff happens, but it's like less than 5 minutes.
Basically, what you very desperately want above all else is for the relationship to begin before the show is over.
Yeah, I don't want Blake and Yang's kiss to, like, be in the final episode.
It just so it's like, and it's confirmed, okay, now we're moving on, everything's done, let's move. Wrap up, we're done now, we don't have to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, and, like, yeah, I want to see their relationship evolve.
That's literally the whole dynamic of Korra and Asami as well.
I mean, you're not wrong.
It is a very real problem in media today.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's your LGBT relationship that we don't want to get into any greater detail of, or we're gonna get yelled at. So here it is at the last possible second. Never talk to us again.
Yeah. Although I will say, in Korra and Asami's defense, a big part of that was because of Nickelodeon just not wanting the writers to do it.
I understand that, but it is still I'm just saying, it's happened twice, and it's weird it's happened twice.
Yeah, and there's also, well, I mean, I don't know, like, if Netflix had any, like, issues with it, or maybe that was just, like, the plan from the beginning. I don't know. I just wish there was a bit more time from the final episode.
Either way, you want to see them actually be a couple.
Yeah.
Even in just the most mild of ways during what is clearly going to be like the end of series massive war. Like, I understand. I totally get you. Like this isn't even like any relationship between any conceivable thing. You don't want to see that happen in the last 15 minutes of the series and then just never again. That's lame.
Yeah.
We waited so long for this. Give people something to work with.
Yeah, and also don't do just like an on-again, off-again thing, because that really pisses me off in media.
Yeah, that's just dumb. It makes you look wishy-washy.
Yeah, like...
Commit.
Like, I can't tell you how angry I get rewatching Friends with Ross and Rachel. And it's
it's annoying as hell.
Like, I want to leap into the show, slap them both upside the head, and say, look, I'm sick of you two trying to make each other jealous or be super petty when one of you is dating someone else. Either just move on or get back together, stay together, drop the we were on a break shit.
I get you. I get you.
It's one of the reasons that I just love Monica and Chandler so much.
Yeah, no, they went in, they stuck with it, and they kept it going for the entire damn thing.
Yeah. Now, I also want to call out, like, in terms of, like, the LGBT stuff, the whole network thing was another aspect for, I can't remember the characters' names, but in Adventure Time.
Oh, right, yeah, God, who were they?
I don't watch the show, so
hang
I
on.
don't.
No, hang on, I do know this because I've seen people talk about it. I think it was Bubblegum, and I don't know the name, but Vampire Girl. The point is, it was a very popular thing, and they weren't allowed to do anything with it until the last second.
Yeah, because Cartoon Network, like, wouldn't let them.
I think Steven Universe had a similar problem.
Yeah, and,
I think. I don't know. Either way, it's obviously a thing that writers have been having a hard time getting through major networks.
yeah. Although...
Rooster Teeth didn't have this problem, so we don't want to see them do it.
Yeah, and...
That's the goal here.
And I also want to shout, specifically the Harley Quinn show, which, the second season ends with Harley and Ivy finally just, like, getting together as a couple, and season 3 is going right now, and they're still together and their relationship is still going.
Yeah, cool.
So...
I don't watch that show.
I've just seen clips on YouTube. Like, some of it is kind of funny, I'll admit.
I mean, the clips I've seen made it look way too adult animation-y for me, personally.
Ah, that's fair.
Because they're like, they're going all in on the gore and the... not for me. But, yeah, you know, hey, if they stick to it, rock on. I mean, that's what everybody wants with those characters.
That being said, there is a clip Batman-related that made me laugh a lot.
I might have seen it.
So there's, like, an in-universe movie being made about the Waynes.
Okay.
And Batman hears about this, and he gets really annoyed about why do there have to be so many movies? Of just like, how many times do we have to see specifically his mother die and that little boy be trained of his innocence?
Alright, well that's clever. Has nothing to do with our video.
I know, but that was just in my head just there, and I thought it was funny.
That is pretty funny. Alright, well, good. They're having fun. That's good. I'm glad writers are having fun.
Speaking of having fun, we should probably talk about the last of the big three.
What?
Ren and Nora.
Oh! The foregone conclusion. What is there to say?
I mean, well, yeah, Ren and Nora is just like the obvious one.
I mean, I guess there's some degree of ambiguity or something in the sense of Nora trying to have like some time away to basically establish her own mental identity, and you could look at it as like, oh well, maybe by the time she's done, she'll be like, oh well, I'm not that interested in Ren anymore. But they've built this up for so long to just throw it away.
Please don't do that.
I don't know what their plans are, but that just seems like that'd be a bummer. I like childhood friend romances, goddammit, let me have this. It's the cutest goddamn dynamic in the universe. Gimme! You will not deprive me of this.
Yeah, and I mentioned romantic parallels with Bumblebee and Rose Garden before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ren and Nora have some too.
Of course they do.
So, I mentioned how Adam was like the thing that tied Blake and Yang's narrative together, and we know how Volume 6 ended. They fought him, overcame him, and then had an intimate handhold together.
They did hold hands. It was very lewd.
Yeah, Ren and Nora had the exact same situation in Volume 4.
They did. It's true. Hand-holding is serious business, people.
I know, like, oh, by school terms, that means you're dating, right?
Essentially.
I'm also just referencing something Barbara said.
Ah.
It was, like, in response to the whole Blake and Yang stuff.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, they're holding hands. Oh.
I always love it when I see, like, GIFs of just, like...
Of pixelated hand-holding?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. It's pretty funny. The lewdest of acts.
I mean, despite the fact that, like, Ren and Nora have kissed.
Yeah, I know, but no. Hand-holding. That's the real stuff. Although it is hilarious that, yeah, I mean, it says a lot that that's the picture you can use in the in your thumbnail, whereas the other two you have to make do with other things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Blake and Yang are doing the headbutt of love, which is.
I know, it's close. It's like the 3 stages of a budding relationship.
Oh my god, yeah, it is just like Rose Garden is just like, yeah, the initial thing. Bumblebee is just like, oh yeah, absolutely going that way. Ren and Nora is just like, there's the end goal.
Yeah, basically. So it works. It works out in a couple ways.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, what is there to say about frickin' Ren and Nora? All right, they're adorable together, and I want them to make this work. And considering the development Ren has been able to go through, and even Nora's been able to get stuff going for her too, I want to see it. Just have them get firmly together and be happy is all good.
Yeah.
Especially now that Ren can see emotion. He should never be able to have another social faux pas ever again. He'll always know what everyone is feeling all the time. He can officially, literally read the room. That is a really underrated power.
It really is.
Like, that's a practical power. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
So, other than that...
But I was also... I brought this up at the end of Volume 8. It's just like a little theory, and Ren and Nora is like the whole basis of it. And that just being like their pattern that Blake and Yang are following.
I mean, there are obviously cinematic parallels going on here.
Yeah, like
I mean, even Nora, like making fun of the trajectory. You know?
Oh yeah, like the whole friends, huh? Just friends.
Yeah, that sort of thing. After, like, you know, thinly veiled talking about them through them. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. By the way, Erin's reaction to that scene is so goddamn amazing.
I have no doubt.
Because she had no idea about that scene. All she's ever read in the script are just her own lines.
Right. That's
maybe just like other lines in the scene.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Anything that she would need to react to.
Yeah. But the moment she heard Nora say that, she like paused the episode and was like, shut up. Shut up. And was getting so excited.
They went there.
Erin's so great.
Yeah, all of them are.
Anyway, yeah, so...
Yeah, I get you.
Ren and Nora got a song in the soundtrack that didn't show up in the volume. 2 volumes later, they had their battle with...
the past,
and overcame it, had an intimate handhold. 3 volumes later, smoochy smooch.
It's true. And Blake and Yang are following that exact same trajectory.
Yeah, and Volume 9 is, like, by that pattern, should be where their first kiss is.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
And considering the last time Blake saw Yang, she thought she died.
That's true.
Like, you could have maybe something like Blake realizing that she has another chance.
No more regrets.
Yeah, like, maybe no more just, like, balling it up. Maybe actually confess and go for it.
Yeah. That's worth a shot. Yeah. Blake, please. Little is watching.
Oh, you know what? That's where all the eating little memes come from. It's just like, I'll take care of it. Nom.
Do not eat the mouse! Oh no! The mouse ruined the romantic moment. It was me. Oh, fun.
So yeah, those are like the big three, like the two of us believe are happening.
Yeah, those are so basically, Bumblebee, Renora, and Rose Guard. Those are the ones we're putting our chips on.
Yeah. And,
anything else we could easily see, and maybe, but we're not putting money on that. No.
Yeah, I think we can firmly establish we just don't want Iceberg.
No.
And I mentioned
Hell no.
White Knight having potential of possibly still happening.
It could. I mean, I've seen a fan comic of the idea of them having basically an emotional follow-up to the things that the two of them just went through at the end of that last volume.
Oh wait, that was by Easy Nonsuch, right?
It was, yes. So, I mean, like, if they go that route, I mean, I feel like they need to go that route if they want to start going, like, this is the end goal for these two characters, so let's go! Like, that's a prime opportunity. That's a traumatic moment that they both share and they can talk about. So, if that happens, then I'm going to be like, eyebrow? If it doesn't, I'm going to put that eyebrow's going to stay down.
Well, like, I had this idea.
What's your idea? Oh, yeah, that idea.
So, when they get to Vacuo, and Weiss reunites with Neptune, maybe she's not opposed to the idea of maybe giving him another chance. They agree to hang out, she walks away. Jean immediately catches him flirting with another girl. And he gets pissed. Like, telling him off and just like, cut this crap out. Weiss freaking Shani likes you, and just starts like listing off all the things that he admires about Weiss, what makes us great. Like,
there's potential there.
That sort of thing, and maybe you can even have Weiss overhear that and
quite frankly,
be quite
actually,
touched.
Yeah, quite frankly, you could have both of those things. If you do both of those things, at that point, oh yeah, no, they're definitely going White Knight style. All right, like, I see. Very well.
I'd also really like to just hear Miles do that moment.
It would be pretty cool. It'd be like that one time we saw.
Oh, you know what? No, that'd just be the personification of like him and Kerry in the writers' room like years ago, just arguing about a potential scene.
I don't. There was this one time where Miles played Jean, and he got very foul-mouthed about Neptune.
Oh god!
And it was really funny. It's like his Neptune freaking whatever, Vicarian, whatever his name is. It was like, it was like full-on parody, because he was just like straight up simping for Weiss and insulting the ever-loving hell out of Neptune and saying very foul words. It was funny. It's also the picture. It's also the video. Somebody like quasi animated it with puppets, and that's where I got the picture of Weiss with a whole chicken in her mouth.
I'm gonna have to ask you to send me the links to that because I want to see.
I'm going to have to do that. Yes, absolutely. But so at this juncture, if Weiss is getting with anybody, that would be the only one that I feel like they could really do, unless they really wanted to introduce a new character. But clock is ticking. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, or you could just have the
very little time to
route
work with.
of she a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
She don't need no buddy, nothing, nowhere, no how, because she Weiss. That's the thing about Weiss. She's great.
Yeah. I have like a couple pairings here where it's just like I just think they're cute, mostly.
Jailbirds.
Oh, that's on the I'd just be down for it.
Like, there's potential there.
Like, yeah, I mean, sure, why not?
There's potential.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Talk about the one that makes no sense, but you really think is cute.
Oh, you mean Coco and Ilya?
Yeah!
Now, okay. I do not expect this.
No, he does not, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want it.
I don't really see these two interacting, but I just had this idea for a way their relationship could start, and the more I thought about it, I was just like, oh my god, that's really freaking cute. And my idea was, let's say Ilya wants to get some new combat gear made, so Sun introduces her to Coco, because she's a designer. So they get to talking, Coco starts working on it, midway through finds out Ilya's a chameleon furnace. And actually gets excited. Because the fact she can change color, like, what could work with that appearance-wise?
Yeah.
And any other stuff that she could do, like, with that to make various things work. Get the creative juices flowing and get really, really into it. And perhaps Ilya could see this as just like, she's actually excited by this. And,
He said, he doesn't expect this to happen, he just thinks it's adorable.
I just think that idea at the bare minimum is adorable.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be opposed to a fanfic of it, just saying.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets it.
Yeah. And the other one for the, I just like it because I find it cute, is Cinnabon.
Yeah.
Which, for those not in the know, is Velvet and Yatsuhashi.
Yeah, I mean, there's literally nothing stopping that from being a thing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people also like Crosshairs, which is Velvet and Coco. Which, I'm not opposed to that either. Either one, sure, why not?
Nah, hair, I see what they did there.
Yeah. Although, I really just like Velvet and Yatsu's first meeting in after the full book. Just Velvet like, just had a few grim on my tail. Wait, foreigners only have one trait. Tries to look behind her, but she thinks he's checking out her ass.
That's a good line. Good times. Good times.
They establish in those books that those two do care about each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And speaking of establishing in the books, Scarlet and Nolan.
Apparently that's a thing.
Yeah, like, at least it's hinted at through Scarlet and a little bit of Sun. Because...
And if you don't know who Nolan is, join the club.
Yeah, okay, so you guys remember that team that Juniper fought in the tournament, and some guy held a stun baton up against Nora's stomach? That was Nolan.
Yeah! Bet you didn't know that!
And,
that guy had a name!
Yeah, and as for the rest of his team...
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they did.
They died.
They died at Beacon.
Did you think nobody died at the fall of Beacon? People died at the fall of Beacon.
Yep, it wasn't just Pura.
So, that's a dark thing you know now.
Yeah. And, of course, there's the possibility of, like, him and Scarlet, like, growing a little closer. Maybe a dude-dude relationship could develop there. I'd be totally down for seeing that.
What a concept!
And Sun even said he'd actually be okay with having Nolan as, like, an honorary 5th member of Team Sun.
I mean... Not like the team means anything at this point anyway. Why not just toss people in it?
So that would be Team SSSNN.
Uh-huh. Didn't even have to change the name.
Nope.
Booyah. Alright then.
Oh, and I feel like we should just establish, like, things we don't want for Weiss and Blake in particular.
Okay, sure.
Like,
you go ahead.
I think you've said your piece on, like, just things you very much don't want. And,
I'm weirdly protective. I admit this.
I should point out, we also don't want a little something that was done in a comic. You're not getting any more than that.
Why'd you
Because No, that decision, no.
I'm gonna karate chop you the next time I see you, whenever that is. You'll have forgotten I told you this, but I'm gonna.
It'll be like that Red vs. Blue scene, just like, oh hey, when'd you get hit? Ow, what the f did I do? And you'll just do that, coming. Asshole.
Yep, long time coming.
Yeah, and something I don't want to see for Blake at this point
Yes.
is for them to suddenly say that Blake is polyamorous and she gets together with both Yang and Sun.
I getcha.
Now, I've seen people say, oh, Bumblebee is forced, it's pandering. If the poly situation happens, I honestly feel like that would be pandering to both sides.
Hard to ignore on that one, yeah. It's like, we couldn't actually make a decision, so instead, you get both.
Especially with like all the Bumblebee build-up that has been going on for all this time. Like,
look, one has had much more development thrown into it than the other. Commit! That's all I ask. Commit! Get into a lane and stay in that lane.
I mean, basically.
Yeah. That's what I say. There you go. You managed to get me to talk about shipping for a really long time.
Quite the feat for me.
It very much is, yeah.
But it was still a really interesting discussion.
I think so.
Like, diving into all the, like, narrative stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And, yeah, there was, like, a lot of, like...
I want relationships to have reasons.
Yeah, and... Yeah, there was obviously, like, some speculation, like, here and there about various things. And I do want to point out, like, everyone watching, assuming you still are and haven't suddenly decided you guys don't like my OTP, I'm out of it, bye.
I mean, I could easily see that being possible.
Yeah, no, I get that. If you powered through, and you have your OTP, which we don't necessarily think is gonna happen, we're not saying, like, it's a inherently bad pairing within reason.
Yeah, within reason. Look, there are lines where we will judge you, but for the grander majority of them, no.
Yeah, like, if you like that pairing, more power to you. If you wanna perhaps even draw some cute fan art, or even like cute fan art on social media, go for it. If you wanna read a fan fiction, or even write one yourself, absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
Like,
Lord knows I've seen a truly interesting amount of RWBY and Sun art. I get that's because of the voice actors behind them, but it intrigued me that somebody tried to make a dynamic out of that.
Yeah, you know, it probably doesn't help that in the Volume 1 commentary, I think they joked about that idea.
Yeah.
And, after, I think it was, I can't remember if it was before or after Michael and Lindsay got married.
Yeah.
But a fan sent them a portrait of Sun and RWBY.
Of course.
It was really good as well.
Of course it was. For maximum weird. It is, damn it, this is really high quality.
And yet they've interacted one-on-one a total of 0 times.
I mean, that's only, what, 2 less interactions than she's had with Blake?
They're at least,
They're trying. They're trying to fix it. They're trying to fix it.
In fact, they even had a one-on-one interaction in Ice Queendom recently.
Oh, well, good for them.
Yeah, so, like, in every aspect, they're trying to establish more of a connection between RWBY and Blake. Which,
as always, I maintain they never intended to not have those two interact, and then one day they finally noticed the people mentioning it, and they went, "Oh crap!" How did we remember to establish a friendship between Weiss and Yang, but not RWBY and Blake?
Especially if, like, all goes to plan and, like, Bumblebee happens, just, like, that'd be extra weird.
Indeed. It's like... oh, now I'm thinking. It's like... Yang, why didn't you ever introduce me to your girlfriends? Who is this person? When did you even have time?
You know, I've also seen a fan comic just like... I want to say they're the opposite spectrum to that. It was Blake and Yang... sorry, no. Blake and Ruby's talk in Volume 8 about... how Blake used to think a lot like Ruby, but then various things like jaded her and all that stuff. This fan comic has that exact same conversation happen, but then it ends with Ruby saying, "Thanks, Blake, you know, you're gonna make a great sister-in-law one day," and Blake's like, "Wait, what?" And like, all embarrassed.
That's pretty great. I mean, I still deeply enjoy the idea of, in the background this entire time, of Ruby and Weiss of having, like, a debate about whether or not it's going to actually happen, or at the very least, who's going to initiate or something.
Yeah, I still want, like, their first kiss to happen. Just have, like, Weiss in the background, or, like, perhaps even, like, the next scene they find out, and she just goes, "Finally!"
That'd be so funny.
Like, I've been waiting so long for you guys to just, like, one of you to make a move already.
Alternatively, you could also have it be, it's like, either they tell Weiss and Ruby about it, and they establish who made the first move, and let's say it was Blake, because that's how I want the joke to go, and Weiss cheers and Ruby gets upset, and Yang is confused by the reaction from Ruby, and it's like, "I bet on you, Yang! What the? You were supposed to be the one to do it! It seems so obvious!"
And just all the while reaches into one of her pouches, pulls out Lien and hands it to Weiss.
Exactly. It's like, you were the sure thing! How were you not the one to make the first move?
Given everything Blake has been through, I thought, now wait until she's ready.
Dang it, Yang!
That's really sweet of you, but you screwed me over. I've almost Lien.
I know. Like, you could easily do some kind of variation. I don't know. Look, they could easily make some kind of well-natured, fun little side joke about this that doesn't undercut anything. And I hope they do. That's all I'm saying.
That'd be great.
That's all I'm saying.
Like, yeah, like, make the shippers happy, but then just give everybody a laugh.
I admit, the reason I love this dynamic so much is when they're on that train, and they're, you know, Yang and Blake are, like, beginning the true reconstruction of their relationship, and Ruby and Weiss just slide into frame smiling. That's, like, one of my favorite, like, gifs of the series ever. I just like the idea is like, like, and it's the same thing with them giving, like, worried glances at each other when, you know, while drinking coffee while Yang is having a fit, and it's just like, oh, things are falling apart. Like, I just really love the idea that they've always thought that this was an inevitability and just never openly talked about it.
Oh, that'd be hilarious, like, for them to just dive into.
Yeah. Like, this entire time, for, like, the entirety of the series, they always felt like it was obvious that Blake and Yang were gonna get together, and they've just been sitting around on the sidelines waiting for it. It would be the funniest thing.
You know what, going back to on the train, they just slide into frame. Just, you faintly hear one of them be like, "Hey, you two should kiss."
Where's that for your Ruby cracks?
I should have done that. God damn it.
You should have.
It's an obvious joke.
It really is, and it's good. Just have Ruby and Weiss be Bumblebee shippers. It's funny.
Yes.
Because they would know better than anyone in the show.
Very true.
Well, there you go. Big old talking about ships for almost 2 straight hours. If you watched all of it, you're pretty dang swell. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And, who knows when we'll be back. We said we weren't going to be back on RWBY until the show actually came back, or if we ended up talking about Ice Queendom, or Arrowfell, or whatever, but then we ended up coming up with this, so
Yeah.
maybe it'll be a while, maybe it won't.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe we could have like other random discussions like this about other topics.
Who knows? There's a lot to talk about. We're kind of obsessed with this program.
Oh yeah.
We have a problem. Send help. Haha. Don't. I'm happy.
Yeah, no, as I've said to a friend many times, it's not an obsession, it's a way of life.
There you go. Is that how we feel about the show or Blake and White?
Yes.